Hi, folks. Here's your chance to read a real live newspaper before they go extinct. This is Old Times is Not Forgotten. Our paperboy is getting ready to give us our next issue. Today, we are in the 1920s, reading the Oklahoma City Times, and this issue is Monday, May 12th, 1924. Let's start right off with today's headline. Martin and Harvey are alive. Aviators tramp 7 days through wilds to safety after plane is wrecked. This was one of the planes in 1924 that attempted to go around the world in airplanes. Port Moller, May 11, 1924. Major Frederick L. Martin, World Cruise Commander, and his mechanic, Alva Harvey, missing since April 30th, when they left Chinook to fly to Dutch Harbor, arrived at this place last Saturday. Crash near mountains in fog on 30th. Neither of us hurt. Ship a total wreck. Our existence was due to concentrated food and nerve. Arrived at Trapper's Cabin, southernmost part of Port Moller Bay. Morning 7th, exhausted, found food, rested 3 days, walked beach, awaiting instructions. Thus ends an intensive, almost hysterical search of 10 days by every agency at the power of a great government, and thus begins a story of toil through fog and over barren wastes, of nights in the shelter of bushes, of days of blinding snow and gnawing hunger, of nights when tired muscles could respond no longer, and numbed brains ceased to reckon the days or care much when or where the end came. Days and nights when only the highest courage and a sublime faith made them keep on and on despite fatigue or hunger or the maddening desperation of lost direction. This is the story told Sunday night to me by Martin. We left Chinook at 11 o'clock in the morning of April 30th, intending to make the portage back to Chinook. We had been flying only a little more than an hour when we encountered a heavy fog. At 12:30 p.m., we crashed full against the side of a mountain. The ship was a total wreck, but neither Harvey nor myself was hurt. The fog covered everything, and it was impossible to see. We attempted to reach the Pacific shoreline by guiding ourselves with a compass, but the snow and fog were so blinding it was impossible to keep our direction. We would walk a few feet and back with the compass only to discover we had in that short distance moved in the wrong direction. We finally retraced our steps in the snow to the ship and made ourselves as comfortable as the zero weather would permit under the wings of the fuselage. We slept in the fuselage in our fur-lined flying suits, using part of the ship for fuel. Ooh, I don't know about you, but this is very exciting. We remained there the next day on account of the fog, but on morning of May 2nd, we tried to reach the Pacific coast again, but the fog still blinded us. Finally, we reached a small stream running northwest. We followed this all day, and we could not have seen where we were going otherwise. That night we slept in an alder thicket. We spread alder branches on the snow and lay down in our ordinary clothing without the fur flying suits. We were afraid to continue toward the north shore because we had no information about the inhabitants, so we returned next day to the ship. We remained there the night of May 3rd. Next day, we tried again for the Pacific coast, leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning. The atmosphere cleared and everything was visible except for the mountaintops. But we could not locate any passage to the Pacific and headed toward a lake in the distance to the southwest. We camped again in an alder thicket 3 miles from the lake, which we reached the noon of May 5th. The going was slow because of our weakness and struggles with the snow. We found no people at the lake as we'd hoped, and so continued following a stream which flowed down from the mountains to the lake. We came to still another alder thicket that night and made camp, just about 2 miles from the lake. This made a total distance of about 5 miles covered that day. Without any idea of our position, we followed the stream southwest back into the mountains, crossed a low divide, and found another stream. We camped in an alder thicket again. That was the night of May 6th. It was a terrible night. I myself was snowblind, and Harvey was breaking trail all day. Both of us had a completely exhausted feeling whenever we stopped. The snow was 4 feet deep, and there were bear tracks as large as those of elephants, the largest I ever saw. The first night and day there had been the slightest kind of a breeze. On the 6th day, there was still only a gentle north wind, but it was very chilly and made the night almost impossible to bear. We left camp at 4 o'clock in the morning, going on downstream, and at 8 o'clock arrived at a trapper's cabin. The head of Molar Bay was only 3 miles away, but travel was impossible only on the rocks on the edge of the stream. We were constantly breaking through the ice, and the snow crust was too weak to bear us. The cabin was deserted, but we found a scant supply of food. There was some flour and pickles and salmon bellies. I made hot cakes for the first time in my life, but they sure tasted good. We were so weak, we could hardly stand. All the previous 7 days we had been existing on only liquid condensed food we carried with us. After 2 hotcakes, we fell asleep, without blankets, awakened and had more hotcakes, 5 this time. We slept again and had cream salmon and hotcakes for breakfast. We were still very weak. At noon next day, a brace of mallards alighted on the bay in front of the cabin, and we killed them with the trapper's rifle. Roast duck and hotcakes for dinner, and man, but they were good. Harvey went out on a reconnaissance and killed 2 Alaska rabbits. We had too much food. After a southern breakfast of fried rabbits, hotcakes, and gravy, we put the cabin in order and left for Port Molar. We followed the beach for 20 miles, arriving at the Pacific American Fisheries Cannery at Port Molar at 6 o'clock. It was our first sight of humanity since the crash. And did they complete their epic flight? Yes, they did. And here's a photo of the plane touching down at the end of their around-the-world flight. You can see one of these historical planes in the Smithsonian today. Here is Patrolman Edward J. Still about to fire the new nightstick rifle invented by Joseph Bauman. The lower picture shows how the rifle is made by combining the patrolman's revolver with his nightstick, a groove in the stick, and a close-fitting flange on the butt of the revolver, making the combination possible. Police Commissioner Enright and Smedley Butler, former Marine, in charge of the Philadelphia Police, are said to be interested in the new weapon. Old newspapers used to fill in their spaces in their stories with jokes. Let's see if it's still funny today. Ready to try it. I'm worried about my complexion, doctor. Look at my face. My dear young lady, you'll have to dye it. Oh, I never thought of that. What color do you think would suit me best? Veterans. Flapper, after the accident. It was all your fault. I've been driving carefully. I've had 2 years' experience. Old boy, picking himself up. But I've always walked carefully. I've had 68 years of experience. 666 is a prescription for colds, grip, dengue fever, constipation, bilious headaches, and malarial fever. In the 20s, people would like to enter contests of any kind. Here's one that really takes the cake. It's a full-page ad from the Daily Oklahoman, a different newspaper, about a contest that you could win $200 in prizes. It's called, "What Would You Do with 1 Year to Live?" It is a question that calls forth in the answer the blessed qualities of mind and spirit. Can you answer it? Can you write down what I would do if I had 1 year to live? First prize, $100. Second prize, $40. Third prize, $10. Fourth prize, $3. Fifth prize, $2. 45 honorable mention prizes of $1 each. Let's see what today's issue of the newspaper says was playing in the theaters at that time. At the Liberty Theater, Wild Oranges. You will agree with the author of this great story. You, too, will enjoy each thrilling moment. It is a tender love story. It is a vivid action drama. Frank Mayo, Virginia Volley, and Ford Sterling are in the cast. Any seat in the balcony, 10 cents. Any seat downstairs, 20 cents. At the Capitol Theater starting tomorrow, he was a king of hearts, but his rival had an ace in the hole. Just supposing you were a bold, bad bandit and hated soap and water. Then your rival made you take a bath. The Broken Wing. Cast, Kenneth Harlan, Miriam Cooper, and Walter Lang. Ooh, here's the one I want to see at the Empress Theater. The Unknown Purple. It'll make you grip your seat. A hypnotizing mystery drama with Henry B. Whitehall, Allie Lake, Stuart Holmes, Helen Ferguson, and Ethel Gray Terry. read a newspaper comic. This is the Gumps called Hello, Goodbye.
Here comes Mrs. Hammer, the old loose-tongued gossiper. I suppose that old domestic pirate is on her way to sink another reputation. If she was a man, I'd knock her for a roll of barber poles. But on account of her sex, I'll have to speak to her. But if she starts fawning on me, I'll be as cold as an iceberg's heart. Good morning, Mrs. Hammer. Gosh, the old battle axe didn't even nod to me. I have a notion to run and thank her for ignoring me. That's the biggest favor she could do for me. Telling people you're her friend is just like bragging because your father is in the poorhouse.
Andy is sailing along the stormy sea of life like a ship without a rudder. He wants men back, but if he makes the first move, his manly pride will be frayed like a hobo's sleeve. What should he do? What can he do? Dear Editor, well, Ed, Safety First Week is past, and I didn't even kill a chicken, although I picked up several of them and gave them a ride one afternoon. But that is a secret, and I hope you will not mention it to the missus. I believe the Safety First Week business does a lot of good, and I hope that next year the motorcycle cops and the motorcycle postmen join in with the rest of us and observe the white lines. So far as I can find, there is nothing in the regulations to keep a mailman from stopping at the white lines, just like anyone else. But if there is, I think that next year I will buy a motorcycle, and with a sidecar, and paint US on the side of it, and let the rest of the drivers look out for themselves. I mention this because maybe some other driver may expect one of these birds to stop sometime, and if he don't, it will cause a disagreeable crash. Speaking of crashes, it seems like narrow escapes come in bunches. Some morning I lope along to town, and not a car crosses my path, and not a driver tries to run over me. And maybe the next morning, when I back down the driveway, some wild nut whizzes by and barely misses me. Cars speed by and scare the liver out of me. They dart out of alleys and from behind blind corners and across white lines in front of me until by the time I get to the office, I'm weak and trembling and almost decide never to sit behind a steering wheel again, so long as there are so many brainless drivers running loose. I guess that is all for today, Ed, except I forgot to call your attention to the fact that today is Hospital Day, and I'm mighty glad I'm not celebrating it by being theirs. Healthfully yours, Art Gum. Since it was Safety Week in our newspaper today, I will end today's video with a 1920 movie about driving safely called Live and Let Live.